I'm Lucy Edwards, Director of Client Success at VHT Studios, and now Metaport. And I'm here today at Rand Realty, and actually my guest is Paul Adler. And Paul is a Chief Strategy Officer at Rand Commercial. And you are in New York, New Jersey, and now Connecticut.
That's correct. We've got the whole tri-state area, and it's wonderful. The growth and the expansion has been organic. It just took off from this very space that you're in here in New City. It grew throughout the county, and then in Orange County, and then Westchester County, then New Jersey, and now just recently we were licensed in Connecticut. So we're on the grow again.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's quite an accomplishment, and this is a very exciting region in the country. I mean, I'm sure you hear this all over the country, but there's no place like the New York tri-state.
Well, I totally agree with you. And we lived in New York area for so long. It's very close to my heart. I'm in Florida now. It's not doing that badly either.
No, Florida's okay. You know, it's okay, but and the Windy City's not bad either. But we really think that just as in finance, the real estate world, this is the center of the real estate world, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And we're very excited to be part of the commercial scene in this real estate market.
And commercial real estate, it's very different from residential. And you've been in the business for about 30 years or so. So you know.
Well, I love you, Lucy.
No?
It looks like it's only 30 years, but if I colored my hair black, it would be 42 years in the business.
Ooh, congratulations.
So, thank you.
And you are still so passionate about it. So that is fabulous.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that word. I think that passion is the essential element to be a good real estate agent, whether that's commercial or residential. But if you don't have the passion for real estate, you don't breathe it, you don't bleed it, it's in your blood. You need to be a deal junkie to make sure that you're successful in real estate. You can do transactions, but if you want to practice real estate, you need passion.
I like how you said practice. Just like a doctor, they have a practice. They don't just trade their patients. So yes, you have to really treat every client with passion, and as it is not a transaction but a relationship. Is it the same? Would you say? I understand residential is very relationship driven. What about commercial? Do you build relationships with your clients?
Oh yes, and very much indeed, because in our walk of life, in our practice, you need to have that repeat business. So the relationship, how you performed on the transaction, and how you protected your client, how you advocated for your customer, in whichever side of the deal you're on, and sometimes both sides of the deal, you need to acquit yourself with the kind of behavior that earns you the trust to be someone that they want to tap on the shoulder again and say, I need you to handle this for me. You know, you want to end up being the highest compliment you can get from somebody is when they turn around and say, Paul Adler or Jenny Jones at Rand Commercial is my broker. When you get that moniker, then you know that you've earned the respect of your clients.
And what about if you were to compare residential and commercial? The approach is different a little bit as well, like maybe marketing and you were mentioning before the interview that residential is very stabilized and regulated. Commercial is not there yet. Is it plus or minus?
Yes, it's a plus and it's a minus. The commercial world is still the Wild West. It's not as structured. It's not as standardized as the residential industry is. So if you want to look at a house, you can go to Zillow, you can go to Realtor, you can go to Redfin, you can go to any, you can go to of course, the Rand website, you can go to anywhere you want and you can find out the same information because everybody's doing the same thing. And our transactions are very tailored. So, I might have to sell a building, for example, but I can't put a for sale sign out front. Now that's unheard of in a residential transaction. I might have to do that on the QT, or I might have to do a sublease where the tenant hires us to sublet their property and then wants to go to the landlord and say, I have someone that can step in my shoes. So that the transactions are stepped and different. We also don't necessarily have everything on every listing platform, LoopNet, CoStar, Crexi, the MLS. It may be, as we call it, a pocket listing. That may be the case. And you may be looking for a particular broker, or I may be looking for a buyer. Buyer gives me a buy order and says, buy this. I don't want anybody to know it's me. Because clearly, we represent a municipality now that's looking to acquire property. So they're not necessarily interested in letting folks know. Or we've done work for Fortune 50 companies. So, if Paul and Lucy are going to go and buy it, it's one price. But if Pepsi's going to buy it, it's another price, right? You turn around and I tell you, Google wants to buy your property. You've just added 2 zeros to it. So,
no doubt about that.
Right? So it's a very interesting, I love it. I have a passion for it. I don't let our agents go out and talk about a property that they haven't been to first. That, they think I'm nuts because I have to feel the property. I sometimes will go in the morning, I'll go in the afternoon, and I'll go in the evening because the property is different at those 3 times. They think I'm nuts. But I can tell you,
right. You can see the traffic, you can see the noise.
Everything, everything. It performs differently, traffic patterns, everything that goes on. But there's also a vibe that the property gives you. I think they call it real estate for a reason. It's very real to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this situation, since you have to look at every property, do you see the let's say the office building, right? How are you thinking about the strategy, the marketing strategy? I need floor plans. What if this is vacant? This is already rented out. What if that will become vacant tomorrow and I don't have a plan for it? So what kind of products, tools you are offering to your clients to make sure that it's an easy transaction for you to deal with the buyer or with the tenant or whatever else?
Well, yeah, and it works the same for both. You need to do the old who, what, where, when, and why. And if you're able to answer all of those questions, you're able to meet for example, the landlord's needs. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you're able to meet the buyer's needs or the tenant's needs. If you're leasing an office building, for example. And so, yeah, I need an exact survey of the space or a site plan of the space. I need to know how I access it. I need to know if there's a loading dock or some other area. Are there amenities in the building? Mm-hmm. How's the parking? Getting in and out. Am I at a traffic light? All of those things that can mean a lot. How far away are we from the highway? Mm-hmm. And so these are important things. And you really touched on something that's very important. I'm putting in, the Lucy Edwards Corporation, and I need to understand that Lucy Edwards is growing. Or perhaps this is your last stop, and you're saying, Paul, I'm consolidating. This is where I'm going to be writing it out, and that's a very different plan. But if you tell me, and I come from your office, and you tell me, we're growing, and I'd like to be in this area. Well, then I ought to be looking at an office building that it can accommodate your growth. And so I'll talk to the landlord about a stacking plan, for example, to figure out whether or not is there space that might be coming available in the next year or two next to Lucy's space? Or might there be space the floor below and we can put a staircase in, or we can do something creative and innovative. So you're very right. It's about anticipating it. If you look at it as a transaction alone, well, then you can put a notch on your belt and say, yes, I put Lucy Edwards in 10,000 square feet of space, and I'm done.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. But the landlord would think better of me if I told the landlord that Lucy's thinking of expanding and she's thinking that's 12 to 18 months out. And he might be able to say, you know, this guy is, the next door tenant is not renewing, or they are renewing, but they want less space. I can open that space up for you. That's a lot more forward thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And you're happy because you don't have to come back to me and say, you know, Paul, I told you I was expanding and there's no place for me to go in this building. And you don't want one office on the 4th floor and another on the 8th floor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
a strategy.
It is a strategy. And you have to have the passion for it and look at it and think, how can I make that work? You know, it is creative solutions to real estate problems.
What about office space? Since we're talking about the office space and renting, more and more companies are begging, asking, demanding their employees to come back. Real estate companies, I mean, every real estate agent, they are self-employed and they can come or don't have to come. Obviously, they are ruining themselves by not coming. But how you deal with office space that is available right now and what will happen tomorrow?
Well, the office space of today is very different than pre-pandemic space. The pre-pandemic space was the place we all came because we had a habit of coming to that same place. Mm-hmm. And the landlord and maybe the tenant did some upgrades here and there. But in order to get you back into the space today, that space has to be filled with LED lighting. No one wants incandescent lighting. People are not interested in carpeted floors. They want the laminate floors. People are interested in having amenities in the building. Is there a place to go grab something to eat? Is there a workout place? Is there daycare? All of those things that folks want in a building. Can I take a walk? Is there an outside area for me to go and eat or meditate or do something? And I think the kinds of services that buildings are starting to offer, the younger generation wants to be in a building that's green. They want to know that you have solar on the roof. Mm-hmm. They want to know that you have LED lighting. They want the place to be environmentally friendly and hip. Mm-hmm. And so that means that the bullpen areas, lounge areas, communal sort of workstations, the kitchen is now more important than it ever was. It's not just a little alcove anymore. And so those kinds of amenities and clean bathrooms, modern sanitary facilities as they relate also to heating, cooling, and ventilation. Mm-hmm. They want windows that open. So the office building of yesterday, which is really not too long ago, has to do its part to attract people back. And I agree with you. Folks not coming back on the regular basis, you lose a certain culture.
You do lose indeed. And it's really, in my opinion, it's not good for the business. It's not good for your business. You are self-employed, build your business. But when you come to the office and you integrate with others, you networking, you learn something. Even if you are number one agent, you will always learn something.
Oh, you do. And I will tell you, part of what I've missed is, I like to go in and tell one of the other agents that I respect, I'm working with Lucy and I'm trying to evaluate her building. I think it's worth this. And I love the banter and say, no, it's worth a little bit more. And I'll tell you why. Did you know that so-and-so is coming across the street? Did you know? And those are the kinds of intrinsic things that you pick up.
When you are in the office in person.
And you hear it. And, I worked with Lucy on the last transaction. She's not going to like the building you're showing her. Well, that could be critical because I could take you to the wrong building, but someone giving me the heads up saying to me, oh no, she'll never go on a high floor. She'll only want to be on the ground floor. or she only wants a high floor and doesn't want to be on the ground floor. Those are the things you pick up. And then you also always get, because in commercial, as we said at the top of the show, that that agent could very well turn around to me and say, I have a pocket listing for 100 Main Street. Why don't you take a look at that? Mm-hmm. And that's the magic that happens.
Mm-hmm. What about different plazas, smaller plazas, or even shopping centers that are much larger? And they already have infrastructure. They have the road, they have the bus stops, everything is there. Do you see that they can be converted into maybe some kind of condo space or some residential? Maybe it will be commercial because it's multifamily, but more residential, not for office space.
Oh, I think it's a must. I think the paradigm has shifted. The notion that and you're right, for example, a regional mall or a mega mall like Palisades Center or here in Rockland County or some of the malls in Westchester and the like, Orange County as well, these are small cities. Mm-hmm. And they have the capacity to be multi-dimensional development sites. There might be a large contingent of retail that remains. There might be hospitality with a hotel or a convention center. After all, you have all that parking. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to load in equipment. There's no reason, particularly when they're located next to transit, that you don't create transit-oriented development sites where you have multifamily apartments and the like. But it can be a mixed use. It can have all of those uses. Mm-hmm. It might even have some warehousing.
Right.
On the far side where you did your load in. I think people enjoy the benefits of living in suburbia in the most part, but as they get older, enjoy a more urban setting. Mm-hmm. Where you can walk out of the apartment that you may only use 9 months of the year because you may be a snowbird, you may go somewhere else, you may travel, and you may want to be able to walk downstairs and go to a restaurant. You may want to take in the movies, you may want to shop, you may want to go to the exhibition at the convention center. And I think that you're finding, if this is a family that's 55 and older, the one car may be down in Florida or the Carolinas, and they have one car, and the husband or wife are still working, or one of them is still working. And the notion that you can literally go down the elevator of your building and walk across a parking lot and get on the train or get on the bus to go into New York City, mm-hmm. I think is a very appealing lifestyle. And we have to start to understand that most suburban neighborhoods, which were planned in the 50s, 60s, and mm-hmm. 70s, just like cars that were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they're nice to look back on, but you wouldn't want to drive a 1965 Ford Galaxy today.
Not at all.
You want your car with the modern conveniences mm-hmm. and the safety and everything built into it. So I think we need to get away from some of the NIMBYism, mm-hmm. The not in my backyard, because I think when you find fully integrated communities, diverse communities, people like them a lot.
How do you vision a future agent in commercial industry, not residential and commercial? Because I'm sure that your agents, and you in particular as well, you are adjusting to new marketing, new technology, new approach, new demands, just like you are saying. So how you vision that?
I think the commercial agent of today and the future has to be an educated agent. I don't think that you can just be a salesperson. I think you have to have the requisite knowledge, certainly in commercial, about construction, mm-hmm. about development, about zoning. I say to my agents, this is what we sell. We sell information, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, we sell people. And the third thing we sell is real estate. Because if you are in command of the information and you know your product and you know what you need to know in order to make the deal happen, knowledge is king. And if you're able to do that, then you are able to really service the client in a very different way. Sometimes we'll deal with an inexperienced agent at another company and say, oh, my client wants to open up a fast food restaurant. And I'll say to the other agent, what's the zoning? And they'll say, commercial. I say, wow. That's like saying, what's the weather? And you say, nice. I don't know if nice means to you like rainy weather, or nice means to me I like sunny weather, and I like it to be in the 60s and a little breeze. So there's no such a thing as commercial zoning. It is either industrial, retail, mixed use, or whatever it is, some special district. But what you need to do is you need to say, the next question should be, okay, Paul, what use do you have? Say, I want to put a fast food restaurant in with a drive-through. So, oh, geez. In our area, we don't allow fast food. In this area, they don't allow fast food. Or you can't get a drive-through. Now, isn't that better to know that kind of information
ahead of time, yeah,
than to schlep your client out and only to find that out later on when the client turns around to you and says, why didn't you vet the property for me? Why didn't you know that? So it's about becoming a knowledgeable, well-educated, and we always say a well-educated, and we push a lot of training, a well-educated agent is the client's best asset.
I would like to summarize it as reputation. So if you have the reputation, then you will protect your reputation and you will do the research and you will prepare yourself for the meeting. And if you are not sure about something, maybe you can let your client know it ahead of time. I'm working on it, but whoever's supposed to get back to me didn't. So this piece is still unclear. However, here is the plan.
That is correct. And you must tell your client what you don't know. And you must tell your client the bad news up front. Otherwise, you'll never tell your client the bad news. Learn that in law school. And it's very important to be honest. And if you are searching out an answer, you don't have it, don't guess. And I know this sounds trite, but it's true. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. And it really is important. And sometimes, getting back to what you talked about people coming back into the office, that collaborative nature, you're trying to find something out. And everybody's scratching their head saying, geez, where would you find that? I don't know. Trying to think that out. And somebody from one of the other desks leans forward and says, go over to town hall, speak to the assessor, you'll get the information. That's an epiphany. Those are the kinds of things, and tell them I told you to come over. That, again, building relationships, building your business, doing those things. And I think that the agent must have passion. I don't think you can have a well-educated agent that doesn't have passion. I think that's the first ingredient.
Well, thank you. I like that. Yes. So it has to be together with education, passion, training, not being embarrassed, learning something new, and to admit to that, right. and follow up. And follow up and stand up for what you believe and make sure that you are constantly growing.
Yeah, and I think it also, sometimes, this is not often, but sometimes you have to make the decision as to whether or not you want to engage in that transaction. Sometimes it may not be right for the community. A transaction, if you are worried about just doing a transaction, you will never build that business. You will never build the community. And at RAND, one of the, our motto is building better communities with RAND Commercial. And so if someone said to me, Paul, I'll spend any amount of money to buy that piece of property over there because I want to put a waste site there, I would turn them down because I live and work and play here, And that wouldn't be a good transaction for me to engage in.
Or for everyone you love who lives here.
Right. Well, you have to think about that. You have to think about what your transaction is going to leave in its wake. Because commercial transactions create a large wake, right? I mean, it can create traffic, it can create pollution, it can create, some kind of disadvantage to a neighborhood or something. So sometimes you have to do that, and particularly if a client is not being reasonable about what would happen. So we've done that in the past. Of course it hurts because you're thinking about what you gave up. But really, did you give up anything if you build the trust of your community? And we're very honored that many of the nonprofits, many of the religious organizations of every denomination and municipalities have hired us, because I think they know that we'll fight hard, but we'll do the right thing.
So in a way, you are saying you are giving back to the community, and the community can flourish because you support it and you look after them. That's exactly what's happening. You are looking after the community to make sure that it will preserve and keep going and growing the way it is, that it's so great for everybody.
Well, that's right. The stronger that our community is, our nonprofits, our healthcare institutions, our mental health institutions, all of the different components that make the beautiful mosaic of our community, the stronger that is. I know it's not just totally altruistic, but the stronger the community, the better the real estate market.
That is true. And it affects everybody, and residential real estate.
Oh, of course.
Begin with.
And I want to be clear about something. Business, commercial real estate world follows residential. People have a misnomer or a misconception that Google opens up a building or a plant or a factory here in Rockland County and then people are going to move here. It's quite the opposite. They look and see what the residential market is like and who's moving in and how educated is your residential base. What cultural institutions do you have? What are the educational standards? And then they decide if that community is right for them.
That's a great strategy. So the way I look at it, like to summarize everything we were talking about, commercial real estate really is all about the right strategy for the right neighborhood, for the right company, and for the right area. And you and your agents, I'm sure you train them well. You are looking after the community, and you are doing all your transactions, if you will. They're not just for the transaction's sake. They are for better the community and better the residential real estate in your area.
Oh yeah, we couldn't do it without the residential agents. They're great, and they're great sources of referrals as well. But moreover, we really do believe in our moniker, building better communities with Rand Commercial, because the community is not a monolith. And when you have the kind of tenant mix that you want, when you have the right kind of industry and commercial, it's a balance with the residential world, but you also really complete the picture of what, our town looks like. Our town, USA, what does it look like? And you've gone through towns, and you know the feel when you see it. It's like that great quote that Justice Potter Stewart on the Supreme Court, when there was a ruling on the Supreme Court in the early 70s, and they asked, there was a pornography ruling by the Supreme Court, and they asked Justice Potter Stewart, who's since passed away, say, well, what is your standard for pornography? He says, well, I know it when I see it. And I think that we know a well-planned community when we see it.
No, I agree with you. You pass the town and first thing you want to say, oh my God, it's so cute. It's so clean. Look at the plants. Look how charming it is. What a charming downtown area. Look at the cafes, because everyone is proud to open their business there.
Yeah, and just maybe 2 blocks out is a very nicely nestled away multifamily. And then a couple of blocks further out is a nice small commercial office park. And all of a sudden you realize that it can all be integrated and it can all work, you know, in concentric zoning and doing the kinds of things that need to happen. And people, I know that, you know, living in Rockland County, which has gotten a lot better in terms of planning and zoning in many ways, but when we would, you know, my goodness, as you know, because you're from Jersey, that Jersey is literally 5 minutes away from here. I can be in New Jersey in 10 minutes. I'm exaggerating. I can be there in 10 minutes. But boy, when you go through Montvale and Westwood and other places and you go, this is really great. I wish we could do the same thing. And there's a certain feel. You have that same thing in Westchester. You go through certain communities, you know, Scarsdale and Harrison and Purchase and, you know, and Chappaqua. And you say, my goodness, they've done this right. And then when you see other places, you know that they don't have the political will to do it the right way.
Well, but you are working on it. As I understand, you're working very hard on bringing the right change to the community. And that's what you are well known for, that you stand up for the community, you fight for it, and you bring results.
We do. And as I said, in every part of this area that we cover, we have agents that live and work and play in these areas. And so we're invested in it. We're not interlopers. We are a large company, but we're not some faceless, this is still a family company. And the Rands lead by example. And it's been my honor to work for them for 3 decades now. And they believe in giving back. And they've allowed us at Rand Commercial to have free rein to do those things that we've set out to do. And you take a look at the city of Yonkers. We've been in Yonkers since 1998. And it was a tough place in 1998. You didn't get out of your car in certain neighborhoods.
I know.
And today, Yonkers is the hottest place in New York. The only city that's growing. It's the 3rd largest city in the state of New York. It's growing in population. 4,000 units in the pipeline, a revitalized waterfront, a downtown that's being completely rethought, reimagined. And, you know, it just goes back that if you put the time and the effort and you get the right leadership coordinated with everybody else, you can make things happen. So sometimes it doesn't happen overnight.
That's okay. That's okay. You're working on it and you can see results. And I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge and your passion and your vision. It's fabulous vision, what you have to offer. So I just want to say thank you so much, Paul.
And thank you for providing the kind of opportunity you do for my colleagues and folks interested in real estate to get a glimpse into our little world. So thank you for your show.
Thank you.